So we are live now. Welcome to French Market Corporation's 2024 to 2028 Capital Improvement Plan public hearing. We are at the beginning of the capital budget planning process. The Capital Improvement Plan is an annual 5-year plan that is developed in order to show agencies and departments capital needs over the upcoming 5-year period. City planning, along with the administration, conducts hearings with all of the agencies that submit requests for capital funding. At these meetings, we'll ask the departments to give a brief description of the projects that are listed in the submittal and how that works into your overall plan or vision for upgrading, maintaining your facilities, and how that kind of feeds into improving your operations as a whole. So with that, I'd like to go around the table for a quick round of introductions. I'm Larry Massey with the City Planning Commission.
Vince Smith, Capital Projects.
I'm Jeremy Rose with Capital Projects. I'm actually sitting in for Catherine.
Thank you. I'm Leslie Alley with the French Market Corporation.
And Robert Gerken with the French Market Corporation.
Turn it over to the French Market.
Great. So I know some of the folks in the room may be familiar with these projects, but for anybody that's watching that's not, the first project that we're talking about is our Building E renovations, which includes some renovations that we had planned to take on ourselves, in addition to some renovations that are necessary based on the impact of Hurricane Ida. The project amount is $5 million. We've actually received a third-party cost estimate recently, so we know we're in the ballpark. We are also very cognizant of increased costs. However, since we're taking this down to the structural steel and the concrete, we hope that there are not many unforeseen conditions left. We feel that if we're going to find some, they're going to be in the concrete. In the past, when we start excavation, we find multiple slabs in the French Quarter because nothing's ever been removed. So we feel that this $5 million is an actual accurate amount, and this is self-funded by the French Market Corporation.
And insurance proceeds.
And insurance. The insurance proceeds are going to be small because the insurance proceeds are going to be related to the roof and some of the minor interior damage that happened from Hurricane Ida. The problem with Building E itself is it has a lot of problems related to its original construction.
Is this the one that was Traplin?
Travlin's working on both of this one and the Upper Pentablis for us, but with this one, and we originally walked through this with Rodney quite some time ago. But when you look at the first floor, the foundation, the walls are flat on the ground. They're not on any kind of foundation. The weeps are all clogged. The brick isn't tied at the proper rate. As well as when, after Hurricane Ida, we opened up the walls, we found that there is no moisture barrier on the outside walls. So water has been seeping into those interior wall cavities for some time. And when we opened the walls after Ida, there was a hothouse full of mold in there that had been working in those wall cavities for a while. So the solution, unfortunately, Robbie knew a while ago that we were going to have to take the brick off the first floor and redo that. But now we know we have to take all of the brick off of the entire building and rebuild that building. So we are I understand earlier today that our balconies in the right-of-way were reviewed in conjunction with the lease that we already have. So we're working on those final things, and we're hoping to be able to submit the bid package for that next week to procurement. Yes.
So you've gotten funding for this?
We have it. It's ours. Self-funded.
Okay.
Sitting in our reserve.
Let us know what the sources are, because Larry, when he puts his budget book together, if there is funding, he likes to.
Right. Typically, everything is self-funded, but this year it's not. We have a capital ask, and it's going to be relative to the stormwater that we want to put in at Elysian Fields, and we'll get to that one as we get down there. The next one is go ahead. Yeah.
Just wanted to ask about the future use of the building. Are you planning to continue to use that as the French Market's office?
We would very much like to get back there, and that's what our plans have. So we had some litigation that began back in 2017 that resulted in the ground floor not being utilized for some time. The ground floor, though, was essentially all the interior demolition was done, so that's why it makes it easy for us to see the walls and how everything was done. That is going to be put back into commerce. It's going to have a commercial unit sort of at the corner unit, and then the rest of it is going to be our security office as well as our maintenance office, which we're going to relocate from another building and consolidate all of our facilities on the ground floor. Second floor will probably be a tenant. We may have a city office that could be available there. We've thought about folks like the nighttime economy, that would be a really good spot for them, given we have 24-hour access and security there as well. And then the third floor will be our office, and we'll have a small boardroom on the third floor and our larger boardroom on the second floor. Right now we're vagabonds and we borrow space for board meetings and committee meetings, so we spend a lot of time at the UPT and other spots around our site.
You understand.
But if there's another city office that would like to locate on our second floor, we'll have a boardroom probably about this size and some smaller spaces as well. Yeah. So number 2 is the Upper Pentava, which is a challenge for us. Again, deferred maintenance and some renovations over time that were sort of value engineered down. So we've got a lot of rotting windows and interior courtyards that literally sort of collapse and fall into the courtyards. So when I came on board about 3 years ago, this project was sort of waiting in the wings to be done. But what we have to really start with is those 2 chillers that are about to completely conk out. So, and our concern is, and we know that the mayor is concerned about having all jobs done before Super Bowl and not any impact on the street. But if these chillers die, we put temporary equipment out there. If we have to replace them, we put temporary equipment out there. If we can get our bid in next week and we can move, well, and you know how long these things are taking just to get fabricated. Yeah. And we know we've been told between 9 to 6 months lead time, and we've worked that into our schedule. We should be able to get this done before Super Bowl again, but we need to keep moving. So it'll first be the chillers, the HVAC equipment comes in from the sides, then we've got it phased, so we'll do the courtyards all moving towards that middle courtyard. We're going to have to rearrange some tenants and some stuff, but we've got a lot of tenants that don't live there all the time, so that should make it easier for us to do that. But we may need some help with y'all on that. We have this one out, getting the cost estimate right now. So we're Palacio? We're waiting to get it back from them. This could be a nightmare of unforeseen conditions, but this is self-funded as well. So
what are you carrying as a contingency?
what did we put?
I don't remember the percentage, but it's
Like big. I thought you
it's
told us for
definitely
like
a lot
20.
higher.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
at least. It might have been 25 or 30.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's a renovation of a historic building versus the Building E project.
Yeah.
Not a smaller one because it's going to be a blank slate, basically.
Yeah. And who knows? Who knows once we get in there? Because there have been part of what we've learned in researching the history of the Pentava over the years is where the sort of problematic renovations occurred and what happened as a result. And in this project, we've also got to deal with the roof, the condition that was there before the Ida damage. The downspouts are undersized, the flashing is undersized, it's installed incorrectly, so it's penetrated and overlapping and all kinds of bizarre. We've got a lot of water penetration in this building. It comes from above and it comes from below as well. So what we're trying to do is really stop all the leaks and get our AC systems in place, because if we don't keep that building cool, it crumbles into itself. If I don't turn the AC on in my office for a week, I will come in and all the paint will peel off the walls. We fight with tenants to keep their AC on when they're not there, but they leave for months at a time and come back and say, I have mold in my unit and my paint is peeling. And we're like, what did you have your AC on? Oh, we had it off. Well, guess what? But we do a lot of that. But again, it is the oldest continuously operating apartment building in the United States. Our insurance company doesn't give us any credit for that. It's not going to be knocked down, hopefully, anytime soon. But
We get a higher premium.
exactly. But you
Your
would think,
reward.
how many hurricanes couldn't knock it over? Exactly. But no, it works against us. But again, this is a really cool project, and the folks that are involved in it are it's traveling again. We're going to do some stuff with PRC, to let people see what the building looked like before and after. So it's going to be really cool, and hopefully it'll set up whoever has to manage the building for the next 30 years, leaving them in a much better position than we got with the bad pine windows and the undersized stuff like that. Yeah. So that one again, next week, hopefully to procurement and on the same schedule, February 2025, being complete, but self-funded as well.
Do you guys use the city for your procurement?
We do. We go through Julian for that. So I gave him early on, at the beginning of the year, sort of what's coming his way and when, and we work with Cheryl. Yeah. So she's ready as well. But we're going to have these two, and something y'all won't see is we're also going to be bidding our parking lots. Boom, boom, boom. So the next one, and we had this on for a while, but we've really moved it up as a priority, is the French Market public restroom renovation. And Vince, you called it. This was one of those things that we originally had a budget for, and the budget tripled. And what everybody wanted also, sort of increased at the time. So when we look at it, it's going to ultimately end up being a phased renovation. And all the money that we have in-house right now, and we didn't have essentially, I guess a month ago, is that $500,000, or it's actually $550 in bond money. And originally that had been pulled in, I know, because of the overages y'all have on priority projects. But Joe Dredd came out with us the other day, and we walked him into those bathrooms. And I think it really is an emergency project because so many people use those public bathrooms. It's not just about, sort of the tourists, it's also about hardening those bathrooms. We have, French Quarter has I always say has multiple personalities, and we have lots of people that use them for different needs throughout the day. But when we open those bathrooms in the morning, we have a lot of folks in the unhoused community that use those bathrooms as the only things they have. And there's a lot of stuff going down the drain associated with all of that. We need to harden them and make them a little less institutional, though, at the same time. We're thinking, so we've got, with this one, Yates Mansell was the group, and they're working on sort of an emergency package so that we can get rid of the doors that go to roll down doors, so that we can, it's already got sort of the peak around, so that it's open all the time, that we can hose it out, all the kinds of things that we can do, change out all the fixtures, make it look nice, and then we'll worry about, in the next couple of years, whether we've been able to replenish our capital dollars, or I think we've got this or we're going to become a mass.
Look, okay, so
I think we need to switch this around, though.
well, the 500, this represents the bond money we're
Yes.
getting, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so, since
that's
the
for the
5-year
emergency.
plan is a plan looking forward, I would say,
We can push the rest out.
no, I'm thinking that you don't need to put this in because you got the money.
Right now for the emergency, yeah, we have the money, because I know they
Yeah,
just.
I signed,
Yeah.
it started
It's
routing, I
routing.
signed it
Excellent.
yesterday, so it's
Great.
moving. But since you got it, I don't think you need to,
Why
Larry, how
don't
do we wanna do this?
Why don't we put this one then now as French Market public restrooms emergency renovations, and then that way the 500 covers that. In the future, we want to put a second story. We want that. We can come back next year and really have that conversation if you want, because I'll have more developed plans, and we'll also know whether we've been able to put any money away in our own capital reserve.
No, this is what and Larry, help me out. This is what I think I want you to do. The 1.2 and the 1, that represents the other work that you want to do, right? Now, does that work have to go through a design process?
It's currently under design. Yeah.
Okay, so you got the funding for
We've
that.
been paying them all along. Vincent, it always happens that whatever money we get from the city, even though it's supposed to include the design, we eat the design every time.
Okay, you don't.
The paperwork that's necessary,
Oh, well.
do it.
It's work.
it's in another pile. I may get back to it at some time, but we often get started in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this is what you,
Yeah.
I think you need to take this money out because you
Yeah,
got it.
we put
So-
this money in there at the time
When we
you
didn't
thought
have
was
it, yeah.
disappeared. Yeah, good.
we thought it was gonna be deferred to the next year.
So we can if you want. Yeah.
So I would suggest that you can pull the other money back,
Mm-hmm.
or if you want to leave it here and maybe plug in some design money that, I mean, I don't know.
I think it's important to the mayor. Remember, this was her project, so I'd kind of like to have it here so she knows we're doing it. It is a capital project, and our other projects are funded too.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other option would be to note the funding.
Yeah, let's
You
just
know,
note the
just-
funding is bond funding.
Okay.
Yeah, because our first two, we're noting the funding is self-funded. The next one, we're noting the funding as bond funding, right? And we can take out, like you said, we can change this to emergency and just put it at, it's actually 550 and we'll put it at that. And we can take the forward stuff out and just come back to you next year with that. If you want to leave it out, if you want to have it there for the future, we can.
I mean, I'm still kind of leaning to leave it out. Maybe you can call this a phase 2. Change the name of this to phase 2.
Sure.
Then you can note phase 1
Yeah,
is funded. You know, it just in
we
your
can do
narrative.
that. Yeah,
You
that's
do that.
cool too.
Just note the phase. You know.
Easy, because it is, that's what we call it in our shop, because we're like, this is emergency repairs, this is phase 1. The next phase
Right.
is,
So just
is our
once
wish
again,
list.
take it out. Call this phase 2. In your narrative,
Alright.
note that the phase 1 project.
phase 1 is funded through
Right.
the bond funds, and we're just asking for the rest of the phase 2, which will just, and that'll come down to the 225, or
Yeah, just
Yeah.
reduce it. Yeah,
take
exactly.
the 5, yeah, okay. Alright,
So the remaining, the 2.2 million, is that going to be self-funded or are you requesting bond funds?
we're waiting to see. So the French market during COVID lost $1.8 million the first year, and I think it was about 900 the second year. And generally, what we do is we take our overage and take 10% off the top and put it into our capital fund. Well, if we had no overage, we weren't putting anything into our capital fund. In the meantime, all of our costs, we're tapping out all our reserves. We have nothing. That's why the stormwater, you're seeing that coming either as a capital ask, or I've had conversations with Mary Kincaid about it being a hazard mitigation program, but I can't get any traction. So I'm going to start putting things wherever I can and see who wants to talk to me about it. And I talked to Joe about it as well, but when we get to that one. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we've got Oscar Dunn Park, that one's pretty easy, that's self-funded as well. We have already expended some of this money. I think we originally had this a little higher, but we spent a little money already. To removing the cannon, you know, and all of that stuff. But this is sort of the rebranding of what was formerly the Washington Artillery Park, Oscar Dunn Park. We've gotten some early costs on a statue, but we'd also like to do something along the amphitheater that's kind of cool and flat along that wall that talks more about who he was, since a lot of people don't realize that, you know, he was the first African-American lieutenant governor, not just of Louisiana, but in the entire country. And he also was acting governor for a small period of time as well. So there's some neat stuff that we could do in relief or with things in that plaza rather than your typical just plaques, which are all getting stolen that one. So they got some metal in it someone wants. So that's what we're doing. And we're working with Brian Corneliuson and the Mayor's Office of Cultural Economy and that's to figure out how we're going to do that. We're also working with the Lieutenant Governor's Office because he is a former Lieutenant Governor, and there's a real opportunity there with the state and the city to come together and do this. Yeah. And then next we have Elysian Field Stormwater Intervention. So the French Market has spent the last year in conversations with developers and parking providers and neighborhood stakeholders about what we see as the use of those two parking lots on Elysian Fields moving forward. And even before Ramsey left, we had him come in and talk to us. We've also talked to David Wagner and all the folks with the Urban Water Plan, as well as Mary Kincaid, and they agreed that these two lots can carry a significant amount of stormwater for the city beyond what is required at a code level. You've got two lots here right at what Mary kept calling an upriver location, and she feels that's critical to keeping the stormwater from flowing downstream into Treme and into St. Roch. And she what we've heard from her and David Wagner and everybody, that this could be extremely impactful on the street flooding in the area. So that's great. But we don't have any money to do that right now or put that plan together. As we put our solicitation out to developers, we're going to include that that's going to be a required component of the development. But we've also got, Audubon behind us just announcing their plans, probably wanting to have some sort of connection to our Elysian Fields lot. So what we're trying to figure out right now is costs, of course, and then how each person can share in that cost, whether it's truly a capital ask, whether it's a capital outlay ask at the state, whether we go to Congressman Carter and ask him for money, but it's really on here to start to be a placeholder for a conversation, because it is, as you can see, not funded yet.
And explain your fund distribution.
Robbie, I think that was the study, is the 50.
Yeah, when we started the study, like the initial study, we figured would be done in 2024, and then a deeper dive in 2025.
To what those interventions, and it's really going to depend on. We're waiting to hear from Audubon. We heard their plans on Monday night. We need to know really the impact of the circulation and how much parking is going to be needed in support of that. Then we're going to have our team sort of figure out the cost of developing a parking structure, and then we're going to have to see who's got what. We know the revenues from the parking lots are so much. We also know that they're underutilized just due to their location. We've got two hotels coming in across the street, so there's creating some security in the area, plus Audubon. We think that there are lots of ways to utilize that property, probably one large mixed-use building on the rectangular site, and then some more, funky, flexible other things, maybe some, multimodal hubs so that we can get people down there, both bikes and pedestrians, but we also need to have some way, that's going to be the front door to the new park, so do we want to have the security on our side or on their side? We have to have some folks for all the people that participate in the nighttime economy. We need to make sure they can move back and forth safely to our parking lots at night, because that's a tough thing right now for folks. So those are the kind of things we're thinking, but we're in the process of, we're in sort of the last phase of our study, which is really pricing out now what we think a development will look like and going to find how we're going to stack the funding. Yeah. But the thing that we like the most is the opportunity for the stormwater, and even if we don't have the whole plan together, I think we talked to Joe about this too, there's really an opportunity to pursue this here, and we need to kind of get both sides rolling together. And then I think the last one is just the wayfinding signs that we've been wanting to do for a while, and it just, once we get all the construction done, then we can point people in the direction. And again, that would be self-funded as well. So the only real things that we're looking for is that big stormwater project, getting something together for those lots in the future. And then potentially, if we can't replenish our own capital funds, coming to the city and requesting some assistance in conjunction with the larger, more comprehensive plan for the flea and farmers market. And it's actually kind of good that I don't think that's not going forward immediately. I don't know if y'all have seen Audubon's plan yet, but Audubon's plan deconstructs part of the Governor Nichols wharf in a way that it has that raised platform that you can not only view into the river, but you have to view backwards into the farmers market. So now I think we were gonna come up with sort of a little building in the middle, you know, and raise that, but now we might do something different if we know that everyone now gets to look back at that. There's an opportunity to do something a little different, so it might be a good thing.
So, quick question back to the Elysian Fields
Yeah.
parking lots with the stormwater there. There are plans for structures on the site. So is the vision to have stormwater retention, I guess, above and beyond what would normally be required?
Absolutely.
For the building code?
Yeah. My understanding is, you know, we can easily satisfy what the building code will be, either in tanks underneath or in combination with water storage in the building.
Mhm.
But what all of, you know, Wagner and Ball are telling us and everyone else is there's just a lot more opportunity there for a larger amount of storage. Now, we know we're close to the levee, so all of that has to be confirmed, but there's storage underneath, and there could also be structures that were built to accommodate, you know, blue roofs and other things. Garage structures are, as you well know, ridiculous to try to do, you know, an adaptive reuse of. So when we design it, we want to make sure that we design it smart now, because we think it'll be a parking garage plus for a long time. Yeah.
And the lot, I guess, the one.
A little
that-
triangle lot, yeah.
Yeah, is there any concern about, or do you expect to have some kind of remnants or undevelopable kind of pieces to that?
Hopefully not. It's been a weird combination of things. Ideally, what I think we'd like to see is something that frames it, you know, not necessarily on all sides, because we want to have some connectivity, but to give it some definition. But you could have, you know how the shops, the stalls are in the flea market? You could do something similar to that, either facing in and have temporary nighttime markets. Everyone always says they want to have a night market at the flea market. You can't, it's just impossible to get our day market out and our night market in time to make a night market attractive. But we could have a night market setting up at 4 o'clock in another site and really activate more of the Frenchman area in that area over there and provide support to the businesses and vendors and all of that over there. We want to have multimodal, you know, I don't know what we do with our stormwater. Can we have a kid's splash pool where it's, you know, that's the site for the funk, is what we
Right,
keep thinking.
right.
If something's funky and cool, that's where we want to try to do it.
Also, there are, I guess, a few projects that were on the request last year.
Yeah.
That aren't on this, or have those been completed?
It depends which ones they are, yeah.
Security maintenance, technology upgrades, and the Crescent Park Dog Park.
So Crescent Park, so the Flea Market CEA with Crescent Park has been expired for some time, and it's really the Audubon thing. Audubon has just put a big dog park in the middle of what they're doing. So what we have to figure out now is theirs the better spot? The challenge with our dog park is, again, that we have to excavate, and we've got that environmental liner that's on there. So it's going to be sort of a big deal. If they can do it more easily down there, then we may want to do something else on this end. And also, right now, we don't have an extra penny for anything. We are going to completely deplete our capital funds. I mean, we'll get them down to zero if we don't keep regenerating them. We have the money in-house. It's all we have. And if our insurance keeps going up, but we've done an appraisal, or we've just done an RFP, and we've just got an appraiser under contract. So we're going to go back and appraise all of our commercial properties, because we have to lease them for fair market value. And now the market seems to have leveled out enough that we think it's a good time to do it. We also gave our tenants some abatement, you know, during COVID, because we knew it was tough. And we know right now is really a horrible time to start talking about rent increases, because we are all having insurance increase, but we have to be able to pass some of that cost along to our tenants. And so we're going to do that. Hopefully our numbers are looking very good. I hope the cities are looking the same, but we're seeing our revenues are coming back at higher numbers than 2019. It's not necessarily from the same places. Our parking numbers are very good. some of our shops are still, trying to get back, but we're hoping we'll have the ability to take that 10% or 20%. I'm telling you, anything that's overage, I'm really going to stick it in capital before I start distributing anything back to anyone, unless it's an emergency. And we still owe y'all. We're pestering the guy that gave us the original price on the Mandeville roof to give us a more detailed price so that we can get that back to Jerry and Patrick and see what they want to do with that. So that's our world this year. And in the years to come, and we, if y'all have any suggestions, any possible resources that you think that we haven't tapped into, all that stuff, or hear about any cool programs or grants, we appreciate it. Let us know.
We definitely have some projects with some that would qualify for hazard mitigation
Yep.
funds. So continue to talk to Joe.
Talk to Joe and Mary. Yeah.
You want to mention the tax credits on it?
Oh, on the Upper Pentava, we did get state tax credits, so we have approval for through the state for whatever the eligible components are. We extended that this year, and we'll probably extend it again one more year. But we do have that, and that's a 20% on all the eligible. And once we get those certificates, we will turn them over to the city, because the city has to then. I know, and Julian's like, but he's going to have to just put them out on the market and see who wants to monetize, how we monetize things. That'll come back around too. So one of the reasons we've combined everything, you used to see the UPB project in two separate things. Combined everything is to try to get the benefit of those tax credits for all the components.
I don't have any other questions. Just a pivoting comment on the issue that we're having on the underside.
I talked to Councilmember King about it again
Yeah,
yesterday. He had a rough day Monday, with the.
I mean, I don't know. I've got a proposal from an engineer to look at it from an engineering standpoint and see if they can come up with some recommendations. Our biggest concern is if we put if we put something up that's going to hinder people, that's going to create the barrier, that could either catch debris or just change the forces.
Absolutely. So that side of the wharf has traditionally had a flat iron grid. Flat iron is broken. What we've just asked is, can we just put the grid back the way it's been? Back, holes are made.
And that's from the folks that are.
Yeah, and if you talk to Nick Gernon, who was the 8th District Commander 15 years ago, he will tell you it periodically used to happen, and the port would have to come in.
A couple times a year.
And sort of, because I don't know how they do it, but they peel that flat iron back. And what we've talked about is just a combination of that and a bunch of riprap down there along the edge to make it not so easy.
Right.
And then see how that works for a while, because if we can show NOPD as well as Unity and Travelers Aid and everybody that we're working with down there that we can successfully remove the community and close it off, then everyone's willing to help us. But if they're not willing, if we can't get it closed off, then it's just good money after bad. And we've done $125,000 at least in just electrical. We're having to completely reroute the way the elevator system comes in because they're constantly in it. That's why this Audubon thing really becomes important to us, whether it's Audubon or the city. It's that at-grade crossing that makes us no longer have to rely on that elevator, that allows people to come in and out with ADA access. And it's a game changer for all of that. But, yesterday, 2 days, yesterday, 2 days ago, Nagay told us that they stacked the bicycles up and they climbed actually into our office, into the electrical room in there, and they can pull out from there everything that we've just put in under the wharf, and it is daily. And we have security, but since it's coming, some comes from underneath, and with the linear park, you've got the railroad, and then the neighborhood, people come in, they cut the fence at the railroad, because there's no security at the railroad, and they just sneak in whenever they want, and they jump over the rail, and they go down under the wharf. So, yeah, it is definitely a brain teaser,
I like the
Yeah.
idea, but I like the
Just
idea of the riprap to kind of create
because it can
a
still,
broken surface that
Yeah.
they can't. I wonder if there's some other material that we could use that could be more preventative. But I mean, I
that's
think
really like not,
yeah,
because
yeah.
our folks don't go down there even to do maintenance, because they say they'll break an ankle. They don't want, but right now, and the river's dropping again, we can walk to the very edge of it and sort of swing around it, because with all of the river level going low, and just, global warming, temperature change, whatever we want, climate change, whatever we want to call it, it's going to happen again and again and again. So we've been very specific with Audubon or anybody else about making sure that all of their infrastructure is hardened and built in a way that they're not going to have to deal with this again. And luckily, Governor Nick and Esplanade, everything seems to be above and inside of the structure. Yeah, but once we get that at-grade crossing, the world is our oyster at Crescent Park. We could do all kinds of events and things there. Otherwise, it's the Rusty Rainbow, and what? How many steps everybody says that is, or all the way down at the Bartholomew end, which is tough, especially, say you're doing a wedding and you want to bring in a wedding party. Mom can't do all that, and if she can't get on the elevator, we don't like to have vehicles in there because it tears up the soft surface, but we have to let them in. So, that's our world, but yeah. All right, thank you very much.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. We'll let you know if anything changes.
A couple next steps.
Yeah.
So we are planning to present this to the City Planning Commission on September 13th.
Okay.
Of course, we'll release the plan when we can advance to that meeting and submit the adopted plan to the mayor by the end of September.
Okay.
In the meantime, feel free to reach out to us. We'll do the same.
Yeah.
Process I've had that address the same things.
Right. If we find out some more about some of these hazard mitigation or anything that pops up, because I'm willing to write a grant and set a proposal. So and with other folks, if somebody else has something in common, that y'all see along this, let us know, because sometimes we can be that matching funding that somebody might need.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. We
Make your
appreciate it.
changes and send it back to you.